So, Steve, your new stage show, Alan Partridge Stratagem, opens at the SSE Arena Belfast on April 22nd, and then on the 23rd and 24th, you're going to be here in Dublin at the 3 Arena. Now, this is a character that you've brought to the stage many times over the years to huge critical acclaim, and I'm really excited when I hear you describe this show in particular as like attending a motivational life coaching session led by Alan Partridge.
We've done shows where I've done different characters before, but not where I've done the whole show as Alan Partridge. So it's, before it would be Steve Coogan going on tour doing different characters. This time it's Alan Partridge on tour, his show, and there'll be two halves to the show. The idea is that he is giving a motivational talk, kind of like a TED lecture, where he imparts his wisdom that he's garnered through the last 50, 60 something years of his life, and is helping people deal with their problems, helping them process and understand the new protocols and the new landscape, both culturally and politically, tackling things on the macro level about huge cultural observations, how things have changed, and also on the micro level when people have got problems and personal problems they need to deal with. Alan will help people with their phobias, their fears, and all that kind of thing. There'll be a lot of audience participation and singing and dancing, and it'll be his big show.
From the original creation of the Alan Partridge character in the 90s and your ability over the years to transfer him from radio to television, the stage, cinema and books, does it surprise you that all this time later the public's love of this character is still so strong and there's such an appetite out there to see more from him?
I think the reason he's been able to survive so long is that it's not just repeating the same joke, and because he's a kind of a filter through which you can look at the changing nature of things today. Culturally, things today are very different than they were in 1992, 30 years ago. Things change, culture changes, popular culture changes, and you can filter all that through the conduit of Alan Partridge, and so different stuff comes out, and also he evolves, and also his reaction to what's going on evolves. So, and because he's a media character who lives in the world of the media, it allows you to address all those issues quite head on. And so, I'm saying all this, I didn't think it would last this long, but when you try different things out, you realise, it's endlessly adaptable. Having said that, if we don't think we can be funny anymore, we'll just stop. So we don't ever set about an Alan Partridge project just because of some sort of contractual commitment. We only ever do it if we think it's going to be funny or we're enthusiastic. The live show is something that we've not done for a while, and it's a challenge, and we're scared, and I am. I'm anxious about it, but to do something worthwhile, you have to risk falling flat on your face, and it concentrates the mind. Not getting something wrong is a very good way of focusing on things.
You've co-written Stratagem with Neil and Rob Gibbons. Can you talk about the collaborative process, how that typically works?
Well, the three of us do work face-to-face, ideally in an office. Tomorrow I'll be Zooming them, as lots of people do these days. The three of us sort of pool ideas and talk about the structure of things, and we might go off on a tangent and start writing things or improvising material, and we talk about the show intellectually from a different standpoint, and then we also start improvising things as Alan, or talk about what another character might be on stage, because there'll be some supporting characters in the show. And then Rob and Neil they themselves might pretend to be Alan and start talking as Alan in a funny way, and I'll be laughing at them talking as Alan. Okay. So we all of us, and one time or another, will sort of put the Alan hat on and start improvising, and then they'll go away and collate it all after we've finished a session, and then they will add lots of things by themselves. So a lot of the writing they do alone, and they'll bring stuff back to me, and then I sort of mark their homework. Okay. Sometimes I'll read stuff afresh that they've just invented that is just incredibly funny, and I'll laugh out loud at stuff that I'm reading for the first time. and then we'll sort of go through and work it and think of other examples, and you get used to sort of establishing certain formula where it's almost like algebra. You say, well, you put a thing in here, and then you add this other thing, and then you do that other thing where this happens, and just put in an example of this. You're sort of almost talking in numbers when you've got the example of the thing you want to talk about, and then do the thing where you undermine it by saying this. And you talk about the formula, and you go, okay, we can fill in the blanks of that formula later. We know we're going to use that sort of technical thing. So you sometimes it's like writing music or maths, and you know how the structure of a joke will work without laughing at it. You go, if we do A, B, C, and then X, Y, Z, people will laugh.
You've said that performing comedy works best in theatres because you tell a joke and the laughter is immediate, whereas in, say, an arena, you've got to wait for the joke to hit the back of the room and then the laughter to travel all the way back to the stage. When you're writing a show like this, how do you factor that in, and how does that impact on your performance?
You just write funny stuff, to be honest with you. But then you do have to, in the way you present the show, address how that's going to read. We're going to have big jumbo screens, so some things we know that will be covered by the cameras, will be depicted by the cameras in a way that means the audience will be able to see and understand the nuance of a joke by seeing the expression on Alan's face. And if it was just me standing as a pinprick on the stage in the middle of 5,000 people, they're not going to see me raise my eyebrow or curl my lip. So they will do with the big screens. So we have a degree of being able to combine. We have to write the show around the screens and me as Alan on the stage, and then think about the shape of it, think about what physical things you do. You don't want it all to be the spoken word, you want some physical comedy in there. So you try to mix things up a bit and keep changing the context of what it is you're doing so that you're always on the move, so people don't get bored. And once you've got the show, yes, you will add to it and embellish it, and have the flexibility to dump jokes that aren't really landing, and also throw in things or change things and be adaptable. And not be worried about, you need to sort of not be worried about failing or something not working. It's fine. Some things aren't going to quite work, and that's okay. We'll think of something else.
When you have a role in a TV show like Curb Your Enthusiasm, or a movie like Stan and Ollie or Tropic Thunder, is that less pressure and as a result more enjoyable than when you have the responsibility of both writing and starring in something that has your name all over it? Or do you actually prefer having more control in how the final product ultimately turns out?
Well, it's a good question for me. The fact is, I do enjoy doing things where I have less responsibility, and also I enjoy things where I do have responsibility. I like a bit of yin and yang, and I did a drama about Stephen Lawrence at the beginning of the year. I was lucky enough to play a policeman called Clive Driscoll, and to me that is very enjoyable, not least because it was very important subject matter and all this, but I was just an actor for hire. Sometimes, not that often, but occasionally I am a gun for hire, and if the project is interesting enough, I'll go along and say, okay, cast me. And I like that because as you say, I only have to think about one thing, which is performing the role in a way that's appropriate and doing a good job as an actor. But I wouldn't want to do that to be all I did, because I like being at the helm and in the driving seat of certain projects and pushing them forward and being there at the genesis of a project and being able to write and collaborate with other writers. This is enjoyable. In some ways more enjoyable than acting, because you're there at the genesis of an idea is always very special and interesting, where you've got a blank canvas and you can do anything. But acting, I just played Jimmy Savile in a drama for the BBC called The Reckoning, and although it was harrowing material and quite a dark subject matter, for me as an actor it was enjoyable because I only had that one responsibility in it, and the other bigger questions about the drama and the political questions were sort of out of my hands to some extent. So that was, especially the projects I'd done before, I'd been, have to talk about budgets and money and whether we can afford to do something and who we're going to cast and who we're going to hire, and you get embroiled in all that, and at the same time have written something and you're also acting in it. Then you're sort of wearing so many hats it can make your head spin.
You mentioned the Jimmy Savile role there, and there would be a lot of actors who wouldn't go near that part for obvious reasons. Are you at the stage of your career now, you've nothing to prove? Do you just go towards what appeals and excites you, and you don't really care about how it's received?
Lots of people were having kittens about it for various reasons, understandable, but I certainly wasn't. I wasn't worried about it at all because I knew that it was good people working on it, that it justified itself. There's a sort of simplistic response to it that I knew was not ultimately the right one. And although I sympathised with it, I thought the people who thought you shouldn't make that programme were wrong. And I still think they're wrong, and I think the programme will vindicate itself. So I've been doing it so long now, I learned to trust my gut instincts, and touch wood, up to now, they've been mostly right.
You've said that the success of Philomena in particular has allowed you to now appreciate the Alan Partridge character more. When you create a character as popular as him so early on in your career, how difficult is it then to, at times, almost put him in a box and even just be offered the chance to play different types of roles? Or was that a motivating factor in you establishing your own production company?
It wasn't necessarily motivated establishing my own production company. I wanted to establish my production company so I could take control of things and develop ideas and work with talent. But it certainly was very difficult to show that you can do something more than Partridge. Yeah, that was a very difficult obstacle for me to clear. It was hard. I trained as an actor, and there's a certain sort of attitude towards comedy, which is that it somehow is less legitimate as an art form and all the rest of it. So you have to get past that. But I'd always been more interested in using comedy as a tool or a weapon in your arsenal, as it were, to affect and help storytelling. And if you make people laugh, you can sugar the pill of problematic subject matter, and those are things that motivated me, and also just for my own sanity, wanting to do something else. If all I did was Alan Partridge, I think I would have gone mad by now. But because I am able to do these other things, then it means that whenever I do Alan Partridge, it's for the pleasure of it, and it is fun to do, and it does make me laugh. But it's only when I'm on stage that I've gotten past that, because I've gotten the laughter out of my system, and now I'm just trying to make other people laugh. But yes, it was difficult as an answer, and I sort of go up for jobs as an actor and just get pushed back because they just couldn't get past what they thought I was. And so Philomena really was not just an exercise in telling a story. I thought, well, I'll write this and I'll give myself the best role. I'll give myself the role that no one else would ever give me. Now, I couldn't play Philomena herself because I thought Judi Dench would probably do that better than me. So I played Martin Sixsmith, and that did change things. I mean, not just creatively as a writer, but also as an actor. So sometimes if you want things to change, it's that thing of like you have to do it yourself. No one will help you get past that typecasting.
Baby Cow Productions, which you co-founded in the late 90s with Henry Normal, I mean, it really is responsible for some of the best television and film of my lifetime. The Mighty Boosh, Nighty Night, Gavin and Stacey, Moon Boy, The Trip, 24-Hour Party People, and of course Philomena. What's it been like to watch the company grow over the years, and also be the guy who's given so many people an opportunity to break into and be successful within the industry?
Well, it's very gratifying. You see these people. I remember Julia Davis and Rob Brydon when they're very fringe, non-famous, non-household name people, and yes, I certainly was instrumental in getting them to a bigger audience early on in their careers. So that is, it's nice when you feel like your taste is vindicated. But I'm watching the company grow. It's been, as they say, a pleasure and a privilege, and I've been very fortunate. I've been able to do all these things and see these talents grow and see them become part of the fabric of sort of popular culture. And I mean, if there's a common denominator between what I do and what all these other hugely talented people do, it's that it's the sort of sweet spot of being entertaining and thought-provoking and not obvious, and all those things rolled into one. Smart, thought-provoking, and crowd-pleasing all at the same time.
And just finally, Steve, I have to selfishly ask you this because Tommy Saxondale, I adore that character. Is there any thought or any chance that you might bring that character back again at some point in the future?
I'm glad you mentioned him. No one has yet. It's strange to say, but I miss him. I miss him as a character because he felt very real to me and felt like I just sort of embodied him. So I do think of him as sort of a real person. It's quite odd, quite peculiar. I think about him sometimes and talk to other people about him and think, I'd love him to come back because he did make me laugh. And unlike Partridge, he was both the butt of the joke because of the unreliable narrator, but he was also someone who was smart enough to be self-consciously funny and genuinely funny and make you laugh. So you think, oh, I'd like to spend an evening with Tommy Saxondale. He would make me laugh intentionally, and he'd make me laugh unintentionally.
Yes.
So I've never said never to Saxondale. I always feel like I would at some point do something with him. But yeah, he's sort of he's. When I go to America, funnily enough, they ask if I'm promoting a movie. There are more questions about Saxondale than there are about Partridge.
Wow.
Because I think he has more of an international flavour.
Okay.
As a sort of perennial rebel. The Americans like rebels.